Okay, guys, stop what you're doing and pay very close attention to what happened in the last 24 hours. Because what just happened is not a normal escalation. What just happened is a fundamental transformation of this war and of the global energy system that keeps your economy running. On Wednesday, Israel bombed South Pars. Now, most people hear that and they think, okay, another strike, another gas field. But here's what you need to understand. South Pars is not just another gas field. South Pars is the single largest natural gas deposit in the history of the world. It holds an estimated 1,800 trillion cubic feet of gas. It supplies roughly 36% of Iran's total proven energy reserves. It is the financial spine of the Iranian economy. And within hours of that strike, Iran fired back. Not at Israel, not at America, at Qatar, at Saudi Arabia, at the UAE, at Kuwait. Iran deliberately targeted its own neighbors, countries that had nothing to do with the Israeli strike, and set their energy infrastructure on fire. Oil is now at $116 a barrel. That is a 60% increase since this war started 20 days ago. Brent crude hit levels today not seen since the 1970s oil crisis. And the question I want to answer today is this. Why did Iran do this? Why attack your neighbors? And what does the game theory behind this decision tell us about where this war is actually going? Because once you understand Iran's logic, everything that happened today suddenly makes perfect sense. Okay, before I explain what happened today, I need you to understand one fundamental thing about this war. Because without this, you will keep misreading every event, okay? This war has two battlefields. The first battlefield is the military battlefield, the missiles, the drones, the airstrikes. This is what you see on TV. It is real, but it is not the most important battlefield. The second battlefield is the economic battlefield. And this is where this war will actually be won or lost. Now, here's what you need to understand about economic warfare. In economic warfare, the goal is not to destroy the enemy's military. The goal is to make the cost of the war so unbearable for everyone, for the enemy's allies, for global markets, for ordinary people, that the political will to continue collapses before the military. Capacity does. Does that make sense? And here's the key insight that explains everything that happened today. Iran cannot win a direct military confrontation with the United States, okay? America has two carrier strike groups. It has B-2 stealth bombers. It has the most advanced air force in human history. Iran knows this. Iran has always known this. So Iran never planned to win militarily. Iran planned to make the economic cost of this war so catastrophic that America and its allies decide the price of victory is higher than they are willing to pay. That is the entire strategy. And what happened today is the clearest execution of that strategy we have seen so far. All right, so let me walk you through exactly what happened and why it matters. On Wednesday, Israel struck South Pars. Now, this is extremely significant for three reasons. First, South Pars is shared. The gas field sits on the maritime border between Iran and Qatar. The Iranian side is called South Pars. The Qatari side is called North Dome. They are the same geological reservoir. When you damage the Iranian side, you potentially affect the pressure and integrity of the entire reservoir, including the Qatari side. Qatar understood this immediately. Qatar's own foreign ministry condemned the Israeli strike as a dangerous and irresponsible step. Qatar, a close American ally, a country hosting a massive American military base, condemned Israel. Okay, that is not a normal event. Second, South Pars supplies 36% of Iran's proven gas reserves. This is not a peripheral asset. This is a central pillar of the Iranian economy. Iran has been under American sanctions for over 45 years. Their entire economic survival depends on this gas field. Hitting South Pars is not a tactical strike. It is an existential provocation, and Iran responded accordingly. Third, and this is the most important thing I want you to understand, Iran's response was not random. It was mathematically precise. Iran announced in advance which facilities it would target. It gave warnings. It named the specific refineries, the Ras Laffan terminal in Qatar, the Samaf refinery and Jubail petrochemical complex in Saudi Arabia, the Al Hosn gas field in the UAE Qatar's Mesaid petrochemical complex, and then Iran followed through on every single target. Now, why does this matter? Because Iran was sending a very specific message, not to America, not to Israel, to the Gulf states. And the message was this: you cannot be neutral in this war. As long as you host American bases, as long as you buy protection from the empire, you will pay the price when the empire misbehaves. Does that make sense? Okay, now I want to focus specifically on Qatar, because the Qatar situation is the most important development of this entire war, and almost nobody is explaining it correctly. Qatar hosts the Al Udeid Air Base, which is the largest American air base in the entire Middle East. Over 10,000 American personnel, central command for the entire theater. Qatar also hosts the world's largest LNG export terminal at Ras Laffan Industrial City. This single facility normally supplies 20% of the entire world's consumption of liquefied natural gas. 20%, okay? Not 20% of Qatar's gas. 20% of everything the entire world uses. Iran hit Ras Laffan. Iran sent ballistic missiles into the world's single most important gas export facility. Qatar Energy confirmed extensive damage. Multiple facilities struck sizable fires. Emergency response deployed, production suspended. Now, think about what this means for global gas supply. Europe gets significant portions of its LNG from Qatar. Japan gets significant portions. South Korea, India, these are major industrial economies. They depend on Qatari LNG to keep their factories running. They're heating on their economies functioning, and that supply just got disrupted. So here's what Iran has now achieved with a single strike campaign. It has simultaneously disrupted oil through the Hormuz closure, disrupted LNG through the Ras Laffan attack, and sent a message to every single Gulf state that their energy infrastructure is not safe. And it did all of this in response to one Israeli strike. Now, look at Qatar's response. Qatar expelled Iran's military and security attaches. They gave them 24 hours to leave the country. Qatar called the Iranian attack a flagrant violation of sovereignty and a direct threat to national security. Okay? So Qatar is furious at Iran. But Qatar is also furious at Israel for starting this chain of events. Qatar's own foreign minister condemned the Israeli strike on South Pars as the event that triggered everything. So now you have a situation where a critical American ally is simultaneously furious at Iran and furious at Israel. And remember, Qatar hosts 10,000 American troops. The war just became extremely complicated for Washington. Now, let me talk about what Saudi Arabia said today, because this is the statement that should terrify Washington more than any missile strike. Saudi Arabia's foreign minister, Faisal bin Farhan, said this, and I want you to listen to these words very carefully. He said, what little trust there was has been completely shattered on multiple levels. Then Saudi Arabia said it reserved the right to take military action against Iran if deemed necessary, okay? Let me explain why this is so important. The entire petrodollar system, the system that has kept the American dollar at the center of the global economy for 52 years, is built on one relationship. The relationship between the United States and Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia sells oil in dollars. Saudi Arabia recycles those dollars back into American treasury bonds. Saudi Arabia funds the American economy. And in return, America protects Saudi Arabia militarily. That is the deal. And for 52 years, it has held. Iran's strategy throughout this war has been to destroy that deal, to make the Gulf states understand that American protection is either unreliable or too costly to maintain. And today, for the first time, Saudi Arabia said publicly that the trust is gone. Now, it did not say the petrodollar is finished. It did not announce that it is switching to yuan. But think about the trajectory. Think about what trust completely shattered means for a relationship that depends entirely on trust to function. Because if Saudi Arabia begins to question whether American protection is worth the cost, if Saudi Arabia starts thinking about other arrangements, then you're looking at the beginning of the end of the financial system that has sustained American global power for half a century. This is why Iran is hitting the Gulf states. Not because Iran hates Qatar, not because Iran hates Saudi Arabia. Iran is hitting them because they are the mechanism through which the petrodollar operates. And if you destroy the mechanism, you destroy the system. Does that make sense? All right. Now, I want to talk about Trump, because Trump said something today that perfectly illustrates why America is struggling so badly in this war. Trump posted on Truth Social that if Iran continued attacking Qatar's energy facilities, the United States would, and I quote, massively blow up the entirety of the South Pars gas field at an amount and strength and power that Iran has never seen or witnessed before. Now, think about the game theory of this statement. Okay? Trump is threatening to destroy the world's largest gas field, a field that is shared with Qatar, a close American ally, a field that supplies 20% of global LNG, a field whose destruction would send energy prices to levels the world has never seen. If Trump destroys South Pars completely, European gas prices would triple, Asian industrial production would collapse, the global economy would go into a recession unlike anything since the 1930s. America would be blamed for it. So the question is, does Iran believe this threat? And the answer is almost certainly no, because Iran understands that the cost of carrying out this threat is so catastrophic for everyone, including America, that it functions as an empty threat. And when your enemy stops believing your threats, you have already lost the psychological dimension of the war. This is the asymmetric trap in its purest form. America's threats are constrained by the consequences of carrying them out. Iran's threats are not constrained in the same way because Iran is already paying an enormous price. They have nothing left to lose by escalating. So what does all of this mean for you, for the person watching this video? Oil is at $116 a barrel today. That is a 60% increase in 20 days. European gas prices are up 24% since yesterday alone. Petrol stations in New Zealand are running signs that say out of stock. That is not a Middle East problem. That is a global supply chain problem that reaches into every economy on Earth. Every product that requires transportation becomes more expensive. Every product that requires industrial energy becomes more expensive. Heating, manufacturing, food supply chains, all of it becomes more expensive when energy prices hit these levels. And the infrastructure that was damaged today, Ras Laffan, South Pars, the Saudi refineries, that infrastructure does not recover in days or weeks. One energy analyst told CNN that damage to production infrastructure immediately takes your timeline out further because it could take months or years to rebuild. So the energy crisis this war has created is not short-term, it is structural. And it is getting worse, not better, with every strike on both sides. All right, let me bring this together. 20 days ago, this was a war between the United States, Israel, and Iran. Today, it is something completely different. Today, it is a war that has spread into the energy infrastructure of the entire Gulf region. Qatar, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Kuwait, all struck. The world's largest gas field damaged. The world's largest LNG terminal burning oil at $116 a barrel and rising. Iran did not do this randomly. Iran did this because it is executing a precise economic warfare strategy. Make the cost of this war so unbearable for the Gulf states, for global markets, for ordinary people, that the political will to continue collapses. And based on what Saudi Arabia said today, the trust has been completely shattered. Iran is succeeding, not on the battlefield, in the bank accounts, in the energy markets, in the boardrooms of Gulf sovereign wealth funds that are now asking whether the American security umbrella is still worth relying on. This is the war. Nobody in mainstream media is explaining to you. And this is why you need to understand the game theory behind every event. Because every missile is not just a military move. Every missile is an economic calculation. And right now, Iran's economic calculations are hitting their targets far more accurately than anyone in Washington predicted. Think about that. If you want me to go deeper on where this energy war goes next, what happens when oil hits $150, what the Saudi decision point actually looks like, and why Russia is quietly winning while everyone watches Iran. Let me know in the comments below, because this story is moving fast and we have a lot more to cover.